Hello. Hello, welcome to Everyday Ordinary, Extraordinary Women. I'm Martina and I'm here with Christina, and we are deep divers and avid students of life, and also powerful facilitators for healing. In real life, I'm a life coach specializing in parent and women empowerment, and I'm also a sound healer.
And I'm Christina. I'm a massage therapist, intuitive healer, who loves to blend my massage therapy and energy work to provide customized healing services for my clients. Martina and I both love incorporating crystals, essential oils, angelic Reiki, and intuitive guidance into all of our work with our clients.
And we were inspired to create this podcast after pondering on this question. What would the world look like where we can be inspired by every person? Like usually we are so quick to compare and judge ourselves and others. And when we do that, everybody's losing. So depending on my point of view, I can either feel small because I come out lacking, or arrogant and dismissive because I feel superior. Those are the only two options, and neither of those options make us feel good. So here's our thought. Someone's everyday normal is someone else's extraordinary. Judgment comes from first impression, and we invite you, the listener, to go beyond first impression and see the magic everywhere. There is inspiration at every corner, in everyone, if we're willing to look. And today, we're here with Jill. Welcome, Jill. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to be here and to have met both of you. I'm so excited. So my name is Jill Milano. I am an addiction and recovery coach, formerly a life coach, private equity, executive. So happy to be out of that. Nothing personal. I'm the mom of two teenage boys, 13 and 16. I live in New York, grew up in Astoria, Queens, and that's the beginning. You can start there.
Beautiful. So if we really knew you, what would we know about you?
Wow, that's a good question. I think if you really knew me, you would know that I think I start off scared and move forward tentatively. But I'm really brave and I'm really much more courageous than I ever give myself credit for. And I think in my short time on this earth, I've tried to prove that to myself over and over and over again, right? So I put myself in situations where I'm constantly trying to come out of it with grace, right? That's
all we can do.
Yeah.
Every day, right?
Well, we can do other options, but yeah.
Just take the next step and the next step and the next step. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I'll tell you a bit about myself. When I was 19, I joined the Army, right? I joined the reserves because I thought that would be a good idea. And it ends up I'm not very good at being in the Army. I don't like being yelled at. I'm not good at being given direction. None of those things were really a good match for me at all. But the thing I wanted to say about that was I was in a situation where you have to climb through and you're doing all of this great stuff. And I thought I was really a badass, so to speak. And then I come out of it and I stand up and I've got a rash. And I remember the drill sergeant was just like, like the typical Private Benjamin. I'm not sure if you're both familiar with her, but like, every time I tried to do something or prove it, it was like, yeah, it's really just not who you are. Do you know what I mean? There's no getting around it. It just wasn't going to work. But it was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it.
Well, it's a learning experience, I guess, right? It's like you tried it and now you know.
Now I know. Yeah, 6 years in, 6 years in, I finally was just like, yeah, this is never going to work. I've got to get out of this. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Tried it next.
Yeah, exactly. What's next? What's the bigger, better thing? Like this wasn't it. But it was fun.
But at the same time, also how courageous to be able to say, this is not it. Let's just shift gears, right?
Oh, I knew it wasn't it 3 months in. Truthfully.
No, but still, I mean, there's plenty of people out there who it's not it and stay wherever they
right.
So
yeah, I gotta tell you, like that's one thing about myself. I'm not good at being unhappy, right? So if I'm unhappy, I try to fix that rather quickly, right? It's not a good fit. Yeah. So
love that.
Yeah.
All right, Jill, I'm going to throw the icebreaker question at you.
Okay.
Tell us a funny, silly, or embarrassing story about yourself.
Well, it's interesting because you guys sent me a very brief, for transparency's sake, right? You gave me a couple of things that you were going to ask me. And I thought, I don't want to read it because I just want to kind of go on and try to do being me to the best of my ability. And I did see that though, and I thought, oh, I'll use the Army story. And now I'm 5 minutes behind the Army story, right? So, so I used that before I could, and now I'm kind of behind it. So can we go back and just like say that was my funny story?
Absolutely. We're laughing anyway, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I think that's the funny story, is about preparing, right, for it and
Yes.
missing it, right?
Yeah.
How funny we are. Like, ta-da, we created another funny story in and of itself.
Exactly. So no matter how hard you try to prepare for these things and trying to not prepare, right? I still screwed it up. Do you know what I mean? Or got it backwards, and it's fine. That's what I always have to remember, that just showing up and like once I'm in the moment, it's all fine, right? In my head, while I was, I don't do a lot of these things, honestly. So I was trying to find lighting that would work in my house. And by the time I was here, I was just like, okay, I've exhausted myself and now I just got to show up. Like, it's going to be great.
And it's perfect, right? So
Yeah.
that's the funny part of it all. I've actually changed locations today. Normally I do this in my massage room, but today I have a really busy schedule and I'm massaged in the middle of these. So I'm like, new location. I'm like, oh, well, it's the best I can do. The Martina's like, oh, I love it. And I was
It
like,
looks great. I would never have known there was a new location. I was like, oh, she's so squared away. I love it.
So it's just funny, the stuff that goes on in our heads. We're always judging ourselves, which is part of why we're here today, right? Like,
exactly.
Well, and the other thing that you said is like, well, I screwed it up. I'm like, no, you didn't. It just was. How do you know it was meant to be that way? It's because it happened that way.
That's exactly
period, right?
Yeah.
But we're so like, it should have, could have, would have, whatever, rather than how do I know that it's exactly where I'm supposed to be and this is exactly how it's supposed to happen? Because it's happening this way. Otherwise, it would happen a different way. But we're so fighting against reality, right? And it's just so beautiful. So
I had a big experience. So I'll give you the big experience because of what you said. So my former husband passed away very suddenly, like 23 years ago. And he had an aortic rupture and it was horrendous. Right? I mean, it was very shocking. It was very stunning. I mean, you can imagine, right? We go to bed on a Sunday night, all is good. And you wake up Monday morning and our life, my life, his life, everyone's has changed forever. And, 6 months into that experience of, being kind of in the fetal position and really just trying to process everything that was going on, my mother said to me, Jill, if anything different was supposed to happen, like any one of your if onlys would have occurred, like any one of them, because I had a million, right? If only this morning, like every day I replayed that tape and it's exactly what you just said. And my mother is not a life coach. Do you know what I mean? And she was not versed in any of these things, but it struck big. It was like anyone, I had a million options that could have occurred, but they didn't, right? The cards that played out that morning at that moment were those cards, right? And it altered the trajectory of my life forever, for sure, right? But it was what happened. No getting around it.
And you probably needed it to become who you are today, right? It was exactly what you needed.
Right. Well, I don't, that's honestly, that's a hard one because that's
like
saying,
no, but I mean, in hindsight, in hindsight, right? Like in the moment, it's forget about it. In the moment, you're in the moment, but in hindsight, if you look back, right, it shaped who you are today.
Oh, everything did. Everything,
which is so beautiful, right? But then we always fight against reality. It's like, welcome to being human.
Yeah, for sure. Some of it is very difficult, right? Or some of it is just, you got to work it through. Like there's no way of processing certain things instantaneously. Right? I don't believe anyway, right? You have to, you don't get shocked or go through a process like that and think, okay, I can accept this, right? That you go kicking and screaming into the dark. It's like, okay, my nails are still on every wall, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And actually, sometimes I think, I was talking to someone and she said, Martina, it seems like life is giving you the easy way right now and you're trying to make it hard. Why? Right? And I was like, really? That's what I'm like, I guess that's what I'm doing, right? But and it is that kicking and screaming against what is rather than, okay. Oh, I can just make it really easy. Why not? What if it would be easy, right? So Jill, what do you consider your superpower to be? What's your superpower?
guess my superpower is seeing people for who they are, right? Like up close. I'm not, we started this conversation off and we talked a few things before we got on this, and I'm not good at talking to a number of people, right? I'm good at close, intimate conversations, right? So I'm an addiction and recovery specialist. And so I go around the country and I spend time with people who are struggling with either mental health or addiction and recovery. And, there's something beautiful about that, right? Because when you do get up close, everybody's the same, right? We all have the same fears and they sound different, right? They look different, but they're really the basic same things, right? And I feel like I can see people and really connect with them. And that is just amazing to me. That's a gift for me, right? The loss of my husband was one thing, but my journey started way before that, right? So, I used to drink and years ago, and, I got sober at 22, and I've been on this path for a long time because I'm 59. So, it's been a process. And I did want to say, I also have multiple sclerosis. So when I was 22, I was 65 days sober and I lost my eyesight. And, it just changed. It's not the sight that changed. It's not the diagnosis that changed. It's the process, right? It's learning to navigate bigger things than what you know in the moment, right? If you had told me a year before I had been diagnosed with MS that I would never believed it. I didn't even know what it meant. I didn't know what it was. I remember asking the doctor, am I going to die? Can I die from this? And he said, no, probably not. I was like, okay, then I'm good. Whatever happens after that, I'll figure this out. That's true and false in some instances, but what a gift that was. Now, if I can look back on anything and say that changed me. Not because of the wording, but because I had to learn a different life. I had to learn that, I've been blind, completely blind 7 times in, it's 12 weeks at a time. That's just the way it goes, right? I never fully got the sight back in one eye. So when I lost it in my other eye, it was really, it was a problem. And initially, the first time it happened, I knew it was happening. I went to bed and you lose the center of your eye and then it kind of goes black, the whole thing. And so by the morning, let me back up. That night when I knew it was happening, I remember getting into bed and thinking, I can't do this. This I cannot do, right? There's so many things I think I can do. This is not one of them. And, there was hysteria in my heart and my soul. I felt scared like I've never felt scared. And I felt soul hurt. And I kind of passed out. Now, just kind of went to sleep. Like I have not slept in a long time. And I woke up the next morning and believe me, I was not happy. But I knew that I could do whatever it was going to be. Whatever the process was going to be, I knew that I could do it. Right. And so, that's amazing to me. Because as I started this off saying, I was always scared, right? I'm always scared. I don't know what the next thing is going to be. But now I just want to show up to it and be like, I don't need to be scared. I just know that every step I take in my life, I learn more and I grow more, right? And I open up more and I expand more. That's amazing. So I don't know if I answered the question or if I went off on a side trail. I have no idea.
It doesn't matter. It was really beautiful. It's really beautiful, it's part of what I hear is so one of the people I trained with is Debbie Ford, and she was, recovering from addiction, and she said she went to so many places, and then finally she knew this is it, and she would when she would leave the places after a few days, said, oh, I've got it, and would be out of there. And of course, go back into the same pattern. And then there was that one day where she went into the bathroom and just went on her knees and said, just give me one more day. Give me the strength to do one more day. And that's part of what I hear, that grace that you received to just continue doing what you came here to do, or what you needed here to do, or I don't even know what the word is, right? To just
Right.
be here because you chose to be here. We all chose to be here for whichever reason, right? So you received strength to take on
Yep.
whatever.
You're exactly right. So when I first, stopped drinking when I was 22, I do remember I was walking by a mirror, and I always tell this story. And I was young, I was home from the military, and, I was staying at my parents' house. And I remember walking by the mirror, and I thought I had no connection to that person. I had gone so far from who I was that I couldn't find her in that mirror. There was nothing. And that broke me. Like, that broke me, because I always felt I had a strong connection to me, to God, to my family, and all of a sudden it was gone, and I couldn't find me. And it was that moment of, like, they call it a moment of clarity, where you get one moment of clarity and you think, God, please give me one opportunity, right, to do this different. Just let me one opportunity to do this different. And suddenly doors open, and they open, and they open, and you're just like, oh my, I just wanted one moment, and all of a sudden I have a life. I have a whole life, right, that I couldn't see before in a million years, and no one could have opened that door for me. So over and over, it's like the death of my former husband, right? The MS. I always feel like I was pulled from the fire, right? Just over again, over and again. Like, this is horrendous. This is terrible. And it's like, no, you're going to be okay, right? And believe me, I don't want any more. I'm good. Like, whatever is out. Like, we're good. I don't need to do any more of it. But when someone's, that's amazing to me, right? That, and everybody does it. I'm no different than anyone else. We all have experienced, like, heartache and bravery and trauma and grace, all of it. And so to every day to wake up and be like, wow, it's amazing. I don't know what's going to happen today, but hell, I'm in, right? Whatever it is, I'm in for it. So
But there's a difference, though, inside of surrendering to your diagnosis or your new life inside of your body with this illness, or fighting it. Like, and we see people do both, right? Like, you can choose to learn from your new diagnosis, and what's the beauty in that, or you fight it the whole way, and that is not a pretty picture. So
no, you're so right. That's really true, right? And when I first was diagnosed, when I first lost the eyesight in my one eye, I was in a then program, and I still am, and people were like, you have to go to the doctor, you have to go to the doctor, you have to figure this out. And I was like, oh my God, you're all so dramatic, right? It's one eye, I'm fine, I've got another, like, let's all relax, right? And then all of a sudden, I started clearing up or whatever, and I realized it was a big deal. And recently, I'm sure you both know of Christina Applegate and Jamie Lynn Siegler, right?
yes.
Fabulous. Both of them are beautiful. And they do a podcast, right? And they do a podcast about multiple sclerosis. And I thought, I've spent 37 years trying to make MS cool, and they pulled it off in like a week and a half, right? And it's Selma Blair too. Like, I love it because they show up as who they are, right? With all the flaws and the perfections, and they look fabulous, they look like hell. It's just exactly who they are. And that, to me, is, I can't separate who I am from MS, right? And I'm still me. And I have this thing that's really a pain in the ass sometimes, right? But we figure it out. So I do want to shout out them, because they really did make it cool. And I tried. And I failed at it miserably, but
You're making it cool too, Jill.
thank you.
So Christina, what do you see as a superpower?
What do I see as her superpower?
You're on the spot.
I see resilience, but also laughter, that you can laugh about it all, but the resilience of it, that you can just bounce and be like, what am I learning from the moment, and who am I inspiring by it all? And that's just beautiful.
Yeah.
What am I learning from it too? That, I mean, when you can choose to learn from the situation you're in, you're always going to grow and get something out of it. So
yeah. Though, just like you two, I've been at this a long time. Like, I was a self-help girl. You know what I mean? Like, I could have lived in Barnes and Noble if somebody let me when I was 22. I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. I've got to learn. I have to learn. And now, I don't know how, I love learning. And the other thing I love about podcasting is I get to learn things I never would have learned about, right? So I'm also going to shout out, like, Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's amazing, right? Mr. Neuroscience, who freely hands over information, Dr. Paul Conti. These guys offer brilliant information for free, just like you two do, right? And it allows people like me to learn from the comfort of my own home and not trying to get into the University of Penn or Berkeley, or you know what I mean? I can just sit there and like absorb all of this information. And so like, I love it. I love it. I wouldn't have wished another
Yeah,
time.
no, it's good stuff. It's all good stuff. And
Yeah.
we are geeks just like that too.
Yeah,
So
yeah, totally. Like a neuroscience geek for sure.
absolutely.
For sure.
So Jill, tell us about it.
Like, hold
Oh,
on
go
a
ahead. So
second.
Regina, go ahead.
So, you know, you said resilience, I would have said perseverance. And then the other thing I see is like that deep trust, which is such a superpower. It's such an incredible superpower.
Thank you.
Right? It's like we've been put here for something. We're just going to walk wherever we're guided to go and just take the next step and take the next step. And that's just so beautiful. So,
You know, I appreciate that. I also, when people say things like, you know, and not what you're saying, but people say, oh, you're so brave, or you're so, I'm like, nobody gave me a choice, right? Like nobody gives you a choice and says like, oh, do you want your husband to live or die? Like that wasn't an option, right? Going blind, I would have taken no. I would have said no, thank you, but I'm good, right? I do remember after my husband passed away, I went to see a priest because I was a little pissed off and I thought somebody should give me some answers, right? And I grew up Catholic, so I was like, you're going to do it. I went there and there happened to be a Jesuit priest who was visiting, right? And he was like, come on in, and just lovely. And I was not a happy girl, right? I wanted someone to fix this. And I remember him looking at me with such compassion. And he just said, you know, there isn't anything I can tell you that you're going to believe. Right? And it's like, you have to go find this for yourself. And I was just like, oh, son of a bitch. But I knew that he was right. Right. And I just appreciated the fact that he put it back on me, because what an easy out, right? You tell me what I want to hear, you fix it. That's what I want. Somebody else do it. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
No.
Yeah. Very fun.
So tell us about a time you took a chance on love. And it doesn't have to be romantic love, but just
okay. That's actually a great question. That really is a good question. Okay, so after my husband passed away, I didn't date for a long time. I thought my couch and I were going to be one. We were very, I went to work and I came home, and that was kind of the extent of it. And then, after time, I started dating a little bit, and I wanted to have a child. I really was desperate to have children. Desperate seems extreme, but I really did want that experience, right? And so I went out and I decided that I would have a child on my own. I was in private equity, so I could afford to pull this off. And, and I was throwing a lot of money at it, and I was getting older, and it's just nothing was happening. And my father had passed away. And so a good friend of mine was like, oh, Jill, come. It wasn't that day. My father passed away, like maybe a month before, but I was obviously still struggling a little bit with it. She's like, come to the pool and, meet me and John and our kids. And I was like, oh, great. Just what I want to do is go spend the day with you and your family at the pool. Well, I have none. Anyway, I went. And I remember walking into this pool and, lots of little kids and whatever. And there was this adorable boy. And I had not thought anybody was adorable in a while. And so it was like almost just in my head. And she leaned over almost exactly at the same time, my girlfriend Amy, and she was like, he's divorced. And I was like, oh my God. So like that was, and he and I started dating, and I was still trying to have a child on my own because I thought, you're a nice man. You're lovely, but I don't know that you're going to be the man of my dreams. I don't know that you're going to be the guy. So I'm going to try to keep doing this. And, that's actually a funny story. So we went out for dinner, one of our first or second dates, and I was told by my life coach, I had to tell him that I had MS, right? I had to tell him all the deep, dark, ugly parts about me, so to speak. And he just looked at me and he was just like, did I tell you I was going bald? And I was like, oh, hell, you'd have to self-combust to catch up to me at this point, right? So, and then ultimately we decided that we would, try to have children together. And of course that worked. And my then doctor was like, you needed the right sperm. You just needed the right sperm, and he's the right guy. So take a chance on love. Like, yeah, I love my husband. Perfect. No, you know what I mean? Sometimes a pencil, I'd like to stab him with a pencil, but for the most part, I'm like, he's my guy, he's my guy. So yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So what fills you up?
So
do
I'm an
you
addiction
feel
and
it?
recovery coach. What fills me up is going out, and when I talk to, like, I have some clients right now. I usually have about 6 clients, right? 5 or 6 clients, some in different states of recovery or non-recovery. And there's something about when you can talk to somebody and you see the process starting to click, right? When you can see that they are starting to want for them what not what I want for them, but like want for them to have a bigger option, right? A bigger life, to have themselves back, I don't know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I don't even know. I got a tattoo on my arm. It's kind of like Simba from the Lion King, but in Swahili it says, remember who you are, right? And I got it tattooed on my arm because I'm just that dense. I just kept forgetting. And I never want to forget who I am, right? I don't ever want to forget the 7-year-old girl who played in the sand, who just could love and enjoy deeply. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want to offer people. And so I think that's what fills me up, when I can see in them that they're remembering who they are and that they're starting to find that spark. I'm like, yes, I know that I'm in the right place. I know I'm doing the right thing. Like, that's what fills me up. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Christine is
Yummy.
doing the happy dance.
Yeah, that's how I feel, right? You start to feel like you're in your body. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if you had a magic wand and could give people any quality, what would it be and why?
Well, because we just had this last minute, I think the quality would be remembrance. Remember, I just want to remember. I don't want to walk out in the world and think, I have to question. I want to remember my heart, because if I can remember who I am, then everything else comes naturally to me, right? My instincts take over. I can meet you. I can meet you. I can be one with me. It's all good. But if I forget, then I start comparing myself, right? And then I start wanting more, that I want more things that I don't really want. Like, now I want the things that are really mine, that are, you know what I mean? That do fill me up. I previously, years ago, I wanted all sorts of shit I didn't really want, because I had to fill up. I had to have, I had to have things. Now I want the right things, right? I want the right moments. It's different.
Remembrance. So beautiful. It really is. Like, if we can remember that little girl or that little boy, or like whoever it is, right? It's like, if we can remember that innocence and that, I don't even know what the word is. What comes is getting lost in the present moment, right? Like that zen that comes with that.
Yeah.
What they
And
give.
then everything's working out. It's always working out for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and the love, right? It's like most children only want to laugh, and they want to give, and they want to, until they're told or taught something different.
That's right. And when you're in the moment, like when I was a kid, I just wanted to be in the moment, right? I knew who I was. I didn't question it. I didn't think about it. I didn't try to prove to you who I was. I didn't try to prove to me who I was. I just existed in the moment and enjoyed it. And that's, it's like you've lost time, right? When you're sitting talking to people and you're talking about things that matter to you. Like, I could do this all day, right? When I first got here today, I was really nervous. And sometimes I'm not nervous at all, but now I'm talking to 2 people who are really awesome to talk to, right? And I lean in a little and I'm like, look, we're just women being women, right? It's all good. It's okay. That's awesome to me. Yeah. I thank you both, really. It's a nice thing that you're both doing. For
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you. It is, that's, again, I say that always, and sometimes it feels a little bit like a broken record, but it's just such an honor and a privilege to do this work. Right? We
Yes.
get to sit with women that, and we get to be inspired and excited, and we just get to be in a space of beauty and power, and what's better than
And
that?
often see new perspectives too, which is lovely, right? Because you come to life with your perspective. You can't change that. But when the more people you get to talk to, the more perspectives and lenses you get to see life through,
That's right.
the more you can appreciate it all. And so we're just honored each week that we have this new little lens to see life through and appreciate things from. And that is truly invaluable. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So Jill, if there were no restrictions and no limitations, like if you had all the health, all the money, all the time in the world, what or who would you be and why? Like,
It's so funny when you say that. I'm like, there are no limitations, there are no restrictions. I do have everything I need. Like, I would do this. This is what I would do. Right? I would buy a new car because I think my car is a little, it's needing some love. And I have not gotten around to that, but the truth is I would do exactly what I'm doing in life, right? And I may do it with a little bit shinier this or a little shiny that, but I don't believe there are restrictions. I don't think there are limits. You know, I don't go into that, right? So let me just shut this down. Yeah, so this is what I would do.
no,
I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I wish there were a different answer, you know, but there's not. Like, there's nothing prettier than what I did. That, you know what, it's amazing when you look at people who, like every one of my clients, I care about each one of them deeply, right? And I think that's where the change begins, right? When you start to care and trust each other, right? Each relationship is a new bridge. It's a new gift, right? That's it. That's all I ever wanted. I really wanted to have intimate discussions with people I liked and cared about, and I do. And even when I was in private equity, that's what I did, right? Just like we were saying earlier, what I do is a little different, but it's the same thing. I still brought my heart to that table, right?
I think that's the point exactly. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, somehow it comes to share. There was this woman, and she has the biggest mission. She wants to bring for the UN, in front of the UN, a declaration for the rights of Mother Nature.
From
So
Mother Earth, yeah.
Mother Earth. So she's collecting signatures, right? And when we asked her this question, she said, "Wow, I would be the bank of love. I would hand out money. I would
That's
hand
amazing.
out money for beautiful, loving projects.
Yeah.
That's what I would be doing."
Yeah.
You know, and somehow it just, you know, like what you were saying, it just reminded me of that. It's just like spreading the love, just at a completely different level.
Yeah. So much fun. Like, who's got it better than me? Seriously. Like, I have a good life.
Mm.
And that's so cool because it's, you know, I told you, right? My son has muscular dystrophy, and everybody's like, "Oh, poor him." Like, I remember my dad talking and my mother-in-law, and I'm like, there's really nothing poor about him.
Yeah.
He has an extraordinary life. He went to places that nobody else went to. He
Yes.
got to experience things that there's nothing poor about him.
Exactly. Exactly.
But we have it, like we have it that it should look a certain way. But then in the meantime, there's people who are very healthy, very strong, and are not
Yes.
happy.
Enjoying them.
That's exactly right. Right. Yeah. And look, again, my life isn't perfect. I don't wake up every day, but I know that my purpose, that my heart is in the right, you know what I mean? My purpose is right. My direction is right. I get tripped up every once in a while by the shoelace sort of stuff, right? By the nonsense, right? And if I keep my head where my feet are, I'm good. And it's usually that simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I'm creating chaos in my world, it's because I've overcommitted. I've got too
Yes.
much on my plate, and then I'm dropping stuff, you know. And then it's like then it starts spiraling. Then what gets dropped out is my self-care, and then
Yes.
I skip a yoga, and then
Yeah.
like oh no 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 no, and then the first thing back is like, whoop, need some more damn time. I need my yoga back in. Self-care
That's
has
right. That's right. Like for me, I have to meditate, right? And everyone in my house knows it's like I'm good. Like I've been doing this a long time. I can meditate with kids talking, but you just don't talk to me. Talk to each other if you have to, right? Talk around me. I just need a little bit of time.
Yep.
I'm kind of an introvert. So I start off like, let me just get a little centered and then I can move forward. But you're right. The first thing that goes is, is me. That takes time to learn, right? That's such a silly saying, right? Put your own oxygen mask on first. But it's true. I'm much less cranky if I've, taken care of myself, right? And everybody else gets a better me if I've taken care of myself that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. So, Jill, what are you most grateful for?
Well, I'm going to say my kids because I can't. Like, there's just nothing. There's just, like, I'm grateful for all of it, right? So it's hard to but I have two really good kids. Like, really, I feel like, people say like they're proud of their kids. I'm not proud of my kids. I didn't do anything to be proud of. They should be proud of themselves, right? I feel like God knew she needs easy ones, right? Like, be kind and be soft. Give her really nice kids because I don't know what I would have done. They're lovely. They're kind. They're compassionate. They're thoughtful. I'm blessed. I am blessed. And I'm grateful.
And they're an expression of you and your husband. So
I was going to say, I'm just going to, as a parent
you.
empowerment coach, I will tell you that raising children is all about the parent and not about the child. So whatever work you did to hold that space for them so they could become who they are today, that's what you did.
Okay.
That's the space you held for them.
Thank you. It's so interesting because I always feel like, wow, I just got lucky. You know what I mean? And
and I'm right there with you, right?
Yeah.
Like I can tell you like how many times I've said that, but it's like I can take credit for having stepped out of the way.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And
yes.
I know I did
mirror
that.
to them, right? And letting them see them. Like,
yeah. Yes.
What I want.
And taking care of me in that whole process. So yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
The one thing I would ask for them is to always remember who they are. Right. And it's the same thing. It's always the same answer. It doesn't change if it's my kid or your kid or this person. Just be you. Just always, always, always be you. Right. And you cannot screw it up. You just can't.
good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So last one.
Yeah. We're just getting started. What do you mean the last one? Come on.
And now I have to choose. Which one am I going to pick? Which one am I going to pick? So I'm just going to combine them because there are two and I combine them. So one is what do you want people to remember about you? And they might tie into what are you most proud of? What do you consider your biggest accomplishment?
Yeah. So, my biggest accomplishment seems like an odd thing, right? So I think my biggest accomplishment was and is surviving that year after my husband. And only not because he lost his life, right? But for me, I showed up for it. I showed up for it. I showed up for it. I was angry when I was angry. I was hurt when I was hurt. Like, there was no pretense about it. My sister used to say it was like a wounded animal, right? That's how I felt. I felt like a wounded animal. And so you got what you got, right? When I was working at the time in private equity, I had someone say to me, there was a time I didn't think you were showering. I was like, I wasn't showering. Like, what are you talking about showering? No, I wasn't showering. Like, she thought I was, and I was like, no, you were right. I was not showering, right? Okay. So that, that process, when you show up wholeheartedly for grief and just like that, I walk away. I'm like, yeah, you did that. You own that. And what was the first question? I'm sorry. What do I want people to remember? I think that I've got a lot of heart. I think, right? And that's my father used to tell me, he was like, you're all heart, kid. You know what I mean? You're all heart. Like, no matter what it is, you do it with everything. Got that from him, right? So yeah, I think heart.
Yeah, me.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want to have you as their life coach? So here's a time to brag about your business. So if you want to tell people what you do and how they can reach you and all that good stuff, this is your time.
Like, I don't do as much life coaching now. I do addiction and recovery coaching. I have a business called Sober Support Solutions and Crisis Intervention Now. And I work with a couple of other people who are fabulous. Thomas McAlinden, right? Phil Argenta, people who are really good at what they do. And we run around this country seriously and meet you where you are and really hold your hand and look you in the eye and tell you it's going to be okay. And hopefully you believe us. And we take one step at a time and we walk forward, right? That's what I do.
Awesome. So
do you have, if somebody would listen to this and would be interested in working with you, is that a possibility?
Yeah, of course.
How could they reach you?
So they can go to Crisis Intervention Now, right, which is our website. I have my own website called jillmilano.com. Nothing amazing about that. And Sober Support Solutions should be up in a couple of weeks. So we'll hopefully have that out. Yes.
Awesome. So we will include links to all of that in the notes for the podcast. So if anyone wants to find that, they will find that all there. We'll also have links for Martina and my Linktree information too. So thank you, Jill, for being here with us today. Thank you for your honesty, for your vulnerability, and for the love that you bring to everything you do. It's just been a blast being here with you today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you love this, please leave us a review. Please share with your friends. And please remember, you are extraordinary and you rock. Until next time, have a wonderful day.
Bye for now. Jill, do you want to say bye?
Yes, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for listening to this. Guys, you were fabulous. I just enjoyed speaking with both of you so much. So thank you. Thank you for having me. Take care.